In late 2025, the United Nations faced something it had never experienced before: mass layoffs. Roughly 30% of its workforce was let go as the organization grappled with a severe financial crisis. For decades, UN employment was seen as one of the most stable careers in the world, almost a job for life. That illusion was shattered overnight, leaving thousands of employees reeling, and the institution itself struggling to maintain trust, resilience, and credibility. This isn't just a story about budgets and restructuring. It's about people, their identities, their sense of belonging, and the emotional contract they believed they had with one of the world's most respected organizations. The emotional toll on those laid off. For many UN staff, their job wasn't just employment. It was a calling. They saw themselves as international civil servants, part of a mission larger than themselves. Losing that role was more than losing a paycheck. It was losing a piece of their identity. Psychologists call this a breach of the psychological contract, the unwritten promise between employer and employee. When that contract is broken, feelings of betrayal, grief, and anger follow. Imagine dedicating your life to peace and justice, only to feel discarded by the very institution that champions those values. For many, it wasn't just unemployment. It was a moral injury. Beyond the emotional blow, the practical consequences were severe. Families uprooted, benefits lost, communities disrupted. Stress, anxiety, and depression often follow such upheaval. Some may eventually reframe the loss as an opportunity, joining NGOs, starting new ventures. But that resilience usually comes only after a painful period of shock. The survivors, living with guilt and fear. Those who kept their jobs didn't escape unscathed. Survivor syndrome, a well-documented phenomenon, sets in. Survivors often feel guilty for staying while colleagues were cut. They worry constantly. If it happened to them, it could happen to me. Workloads increase, morale drops, and trust in leadership erodes. If layoffs are perceived as unfair, targeting mostly lower-level staff while sparing higher-ups, the sense of injustice deepens. Employees begin to disengage, productivity falls, and voluntary turnover rises. In short, the organization risks losing not only those it laid off, but also those it hoped to retain. The UN's no layoff tradition, a double-edged sword. For decades, the UN prided itself on offering lifelong job security. That tradition built loyalty, but also fostered complacency. Leaders avoided tough restructuring decisions, creating a false sense of permanence. When the financial crisis hit, the sudden reversal of this norm was devastating. Employees weren't just shocked by the layoffs, they were shocked that layoffs could happen at all. The betrayal felt deeper because it broke a cultural promise that had defined the UN's identity. What was once a source of pride became a liability. Resilience under threat. Resilience is about bouncing back from crises. But resilience depends on people, their knowledge, morale, and trust. By cutting mostly middle and lower-level staff, the UN lost institutional memory and grassroots connections. These are the very assets that make operations in conflict zones and disaster areas possible. Remaining staff, demoralized and distrustful, may hesitate to take initiative or share critical information. Burnout rises, creativity falls, and psychological safety, the belief that it's safe to speak up, diminishes. In dangerous environments, that loss of trust and cohesion can be life-threatening. The impact on young talent. For decades, the UN attracted idealistic young professionals who wanted meaningful work and stability. The layoffs tarnished that image. If job security is gone, why choose the UN over NGOs, social enterprises, or tech companies that offer innovation and better pay? Young staff who remain may shift from seeing their role as a vocation to treating it as just a job. That transactional mindset erodes long-term commitment and institutional knowledge. The UN risks losing not only experienced staff, but also the next generation of leaders. Trust in leadership, the deepest wound. Perhaps the most lasting damage is to trust. Employees now question whether leaders are competent, fair, or honest. If senior officials appeared protected while junior staff were cut, perceptions of cronyism and favoritism grow. Trust in the UN's mission itself is also shaken. How can an organization that champions justice globally fail to practice fairness internally? Cynicism spreads, morale collapses, and the UN's credibility, both internally and externally, suffers. A collective trauma. The layoffs weren't just a financial event. They were an organizational trauma. Staff feel betrayed, fearful, and hypervigilant. Some disengage as a coping mechanism. I won't give my all again. I got burned once. That emotional withdrawal undermines the bold, committed action the UN's mission requires. Rebuilding trust will take more than words. Leaders must show shared sacrifice, invest in survivors, and acknowledge the pain caused. Without visible acts of good faith, the UN risks becoming brittle, less resilient, less attractive to talent, and less effective in its global mission. Final reflection. The UN layoffs of 2025 are a cautionary tale. They reveal how deeply job security, fairness, and trust are woven into the fabric of organizational resilience. When those threads are torn, the damage goes far beyond budgets. It strikes at identity, morale, and mission integrity. For the UN to recover, it must not only stabilize finances but also heal its people. Because in the end, resilience isn't built on structures or slogans. It's built on the hearts and minds of those who carry the mission forward.